So my research paper is on DACA, which is Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. And basically my central question and my focus was, is DACA enough? Is it enough of a solution? Is it enough of a reform? Is it solving the issues that undocumented people in the United States are facing? And the straightforward answer is no. But I think in order to really understand that and the different reasons for that, we also have to understand the following questions, like what is DACA? How many people have benefited from this? What are the pros and cons? Why was it enacted? Why is it controversial? How has it affected education, immigration, the economy? What is the current state of the program and how can it be improved? So in order to even understand that as well, we have to discuss exactly what DACA is, because I think there's quite a lot of misinformation or misconceptions about the program, or even just a lot of people who are not aware of what it entails. Essentially, it defers immigration enforcement, apprehension and removal, so essentially deportation. It allows undocumented folks to be able to work because they have a work authorization card, a social security, a driver's license, and it originally also allowed advanced parole, but this is no longer a benefit. Excuse me. The first problem right away is the rigidness and how strict the requirements are in the application process. Because of that, there was only 1.8 million people who were eligible to this, but only about 800,000 I received it. So over 1 million of that population I was eligible for it was not able to actually benefit from this. The second problem is that it's so limited, and so that doesn't actually fix the problem, and I claim that it's empty rhetoric essentially because it's not permanent and it's not stable. And we see this especially with the current administration, which I will touch on in a bit, but DACA is technically no longer in place, but I will explain that in a few minutes. But it is also not enough because it does not create more access to higher education. It allows people to work, but it does not really prepare them or open more doors to higher education. It also does not reflect the current needs and statistics of the population, and it does not guarantee even college graduates the ability to obtain professional licenses and work in their field in many cases. So DACA, it has a long history because it was not the first attempt. You had the Student Adjustment Act in 2001, the DREAM Act as well, also in 2001. But these failed in Congress, and then you had other senators introducing proposals, and eventually it was pushed on the Obama administration. One of the biggest things that differentiates DACA from the DREAM Act is that the premise is prosecutorial discretion. In 2005, it was explained that service officers were expected to use discretion at all stages of the enforcement process. And that just made it very controversial and open to political challenges and just very up in the air. And it was a problem of rational choice. So it really failed to recognize the needs of the ground. And so this approach started to shape newer efforts, and the new legislation had to address some of those issues. And that's how it came to fall on the Obama administration. And Obama used his executive power to create the program, but he could not grant legal status because that's something that only Congress can do. He did attempt, however, in 2014 to improve and expand the program by eliminating the age gap, changing the required year of residency, and granted a 3-year work authorization, or wanted to. But this was rejected, or fought against, I should say, by Texas specifically, and it did not pass. So the current administration and DACA, in September of 2017, it was rescinded by President Trump. And it's been kind of up in the air since. Now, as of early 2018, DACA recipients can continue to apply for renewal, but they cannot, USCIS cannot accept first-time applications. So it's kind of unsure, and now it is in danger of being ended for good. And so it is now in the hands of the Supreme Court, and it's expected that they'll decide in early 2020. But there is a huge economical impact with DACA. I have different statistics, but one of the interesting ones is that removing DACA recipients from the workforce would result in $460.3 billion in GDP loss over a decade. And that's huge. It would result in loss of jobs for both DACA-minted and citizens. It would cost billions in turnover and contributions to Medicare and Social Security. And it's not enough, essentially, because only 800,000 people were granted DACA. And there's different factors for this. The lack of information, the lack of awareness, the process is costly and extensive. It's almost $500 every 2 years. And you have to basically provide all your information, all of your family's information. And this caused a lot of fear. And now a lot of people are concerned because if DACA is rescinded, the government already has all of that information, and that makes it quite scary. And again, the policy is very limited. It's fragile, as we saw in September 2017. It only gives lawful presence, but not lawful status. So as a result of this, it creates an underclass of people who are disenfranchised and unable to participate in society. And so this leads to instability, it leads to confusion. This can negatively and directly affect jobs and school opportunities because a lot of people or employers do not know what DACA is. And it does not ensure access to higher education. So there's so many structural barriers for undocumented students, like ineligibility for financial aid, in-state tuition, and so much more. Different state laws can be confusing. And it also doesn't remove legal barriers for college graduates post graduation. So there's a lot of legal impediments to work as lawyers, doctors, teachers, social workers, other licensed professions. And it's a narrow framework because it really puts the undocumented community in a vulnerable position. It exposes people, it increases risk of marginalization and racial profiling, and it just doesn't provide a pathway to citizenship, which is truly the only solution. And it could be fixed, of course, and the most immediate solution would just be to reinstate it, to put it back in place, and expand it, and maybe even just reform it completely so it would be an actual immigration reform rather than just a band-aid. So in conclusion, the issue is critical because it's affecting millions of people, like the bigger issue. And DACA itself affects many people and young adults. And we need to close those loopholes. We need to construct pathways to higher education, and support those in higher education, and ensuring that they will have jobs and stability and security in the United States.